Hello, I'm an addict and my name is Jared. All right, when you guys are done, we can take this seriously or we can play around. What do you want to do? First, I want to talk about my drug addiction and where it all started. All right, so when I was 22, I had moved in with my grandma in a one little studio room with my uncles and my mom. At the time, my mom was homeless, my uncles were using meth, and I was just got kicked out from my ex-girlfriend's house. And my son is like 4 at the time. So I see them getting high, right? So at first I just wanted to try it. I wanted to see what it was like. My first time using meth was with my uncle Danny. And I was up all night talking to him, and then I realized everybody around me was doing it. There's even people in here right now that were getting high with me. So it's not like you don't know, so I could definitely relate, in a program like this, in a room like this, I could be myself and I don't have to put on this face that I'm somebody else. So anyways, I was staying with my grandma and we ended up getting evicted. So me and my mom ended up being homeless on the streets right here on Beacon by the post office. And I continued to use meth. I'm 22. I'm sleeping in tents. I'm stealing shit from the stores. And it's everything. It's not a big deal at that age. At that age, I didn't care. I felt like I was protecting my mother. I felt like I had to be out there with her, and pushing her baskets around and making sure she was okay. So after I'm smoking it, snorting it for years, it gets to the point where I just don't really care about myself. When I first moved to my grandma's house, I was working at KFC. I started doing drugs, then I just stopped caring. I felt like nobody cared about me. I was a bum, I was dirty. And I felt like all the people that I would see, like the neighbors and people around the neighborhood, just thought I was a piece of shit. So that's what I thought, and that's what I felt. So my first time going to rehab, the police officer lady, she took me to the Beacon House. I was there for 3 days and I didn't like that shit. I left. That Beacon House, yeah, they have some strict rules. But anyways, so I go back to the streets, right? So I'm smoking and snorting it. And I get to the point where I just start eating it. I get the meth, swallow it, because out in the streets, you don't have no privacy. I get going to bathrooms and smoking dope in the bathroom, and it can be windy, you don't have a torch lighter, all this stuff. So I started swallowing it, right? And I'm about 24, 25, and my mom is still homeless. My son is getting older. I'm not even there for him. I don't even see him that much. So after I started swallowing it and eating it, I started hearing voices. And I never really thought anybody would hear voices. I used to think people were crazy. Oh, you hear voices, you're crazy, right? But I would hear voices and I really thought, that people were after me. So that's the insanity of it. So I meet this girl. She says she's having my son at the hospital. It's like 2 in the morning. So I'm on my way to go to the hospital, and I get on the wrong bus. And I'm 26 now, and I'm at the cemetery, Green Hill Cemetery. Thinking the world is gonna end. Thinking that my dad is there, that he's dead. Because my little sister is buried there, so I thought, I would go chill out and go see her. But anyways, I ended up getting arrested there, and I'm fighting the police, and they put that little bag over my head. They put me in the back of the police car. I'm smashing my head in the back of the police car. So they take me out of the police car. I go into an ambulance, and they're shooting me with something to calm me down. So I wake up in Twin Towers with a gown on, locked down, So it took like a couple weeks for me to stop hearing voices and thinking that I was, everybody was talking to me. So that's the first rodeo of me getting high. While I was in prison for 3 years, I didn't get high, I didn't do drugs. But when I came out, I was the same person. I was very aggressive, I was very irritated. Everybody in there is mean and they talk shit, and you don't really have no feelings. So like that wall that I was putting up, that shit still fucks with me today. But anyways, I got out of prison, and my parole officer didn't even tell me that I had to go to a rehab. So I started working at the warehouse down the street from the Home Depot, and then I just started getting high because at this time, my mom, she had Section 8. She's only paying $12 for a two-bedroom right here on 13th and Center, right across the street from Fred Brown. So I'm starting to work. I just get out of prison. I was clean for 3 years. You know, so I started getting high again because my mom's getting high, and I think it's okay. I was like, fuck it, who cares, right? So my son's getting older. I would see him on the weekends, and it just like every time he came around, I would start to see my drug addiction, like there's something wrong with it. Because me and my mom, we've been getting high together, and it doesn't seem like a big deal. Like me trying to get a job doesn't seem like a big deal. But whenever my son's around, it seems like a big deal, you know? So anyways, start working, I relapsed again after getting out of prison. And it got to the point where I'm hearing voices all over again. Like, what the fuck? I was like, damn, like, that shit is crazy. I never thought, like, I would hear voices again. So I started hearing voices again. My sister's living there. She's pregnant with 5 kids in the system. She's pregnant. She's drinking. She took my room. Now I'm in the living room getting high. My mom's in her room getting high. So after all that shit, my PO notices that I'm starting to lose weight, so he told me to go to Fred Brown. So this is the first time I came to Fred Brown, was about 3 years ago. So I come to Fred Brown, right? I have this stupid mentality that if somebody looks at me wrong, I'm gonna trip on them because I have to be hard, right? I have to be tough. So I go to Fred Brown, and I ended up arguing with somebody, and they told me that I had to leave, and I was only there for 2 weeks. I don't blame Fred Brown. And Matthew even knows when I first came, I was kind of like different. I couldn't smile. I couldn't be myself, right? So anyways, Abel ends up taking me to the Long Beach Rescue Mission. I did a whole year clean there, right? But the same night I graduated, I ended up getting high. I went back to my mom's house. The whole year just was a waste of my time. I went right back to it. So here we go again. I'm getting high at my mom's house. And it gets to the point where I am like so desperate. I'm praying and asking God to help me. So I go to Fred Brown again. This is the second time at Fred Brown. I learned a little bit about myself in that year while I was clean, but I didn't learn everything. I still don't know anything really. But I did hear some things that stuck with me. And the more I got away from that traumatic event of me being homeless, me being, locked up, just that sick shit that I was going through, the more I get away from it, the more I'm starting to see, okay, I'm happier when I'm sober. I'm happier when I'm in rehab, talking about my feelings, crying and shit, and letting some of this shit go. Okay, so my second time in rehab, I'm a little bit more mature, a little bit more open, more friendly. And for the most part, I was doing good. I graduated, but once I got to Abel's house and started working and, you know, started working and being in a relationship, my pride and my ego took over. I stopped going to meetings. I stopped calling my sponsor. All I cared about was me, I. And I was trying to fill that hole in my heart with women and money, and that shit didn't work. You know, like I believe in God and I prayed, but somehow when I was, going and getting money and being in a relationship, that shit didn't matter to me. My family, they didn't matter to me. So anyways, I ended up getting high again while I'm at Abel's house and I relapsed, at work. So this time around, I have some experience, just let me tell you that much. I have experience. So yeah, after I left Abel's house, they told me that I could either stay, be on no movement, or you can leave. In my head, I was like, man, fuck this, I'm out of here. I have a job, I have a girlfriend, that's all that matters. But look at me now. I come back humble, I come back fucking asking for help, and it's okay. It really is, right? I mean, if I'm gonna grow up, I have to ask for help. Like my childhood and all that shit doesn't even matter because today is another day. So, anyways, this is my third time at Fred Brown.
Third time's a charm, baby.
Third time in Fred Brown, and let me tell you something. If it wasn't for Nancy, if it wasn't for the people in this program, I would have never came back. I was getting high. This is my third time getting high, right? After I left Abel's house, I'm starting to work again, but I'm in Inglewood. I'm around gangbangers. I mean, what do you think? Like the security guard that worked there ended up selling me dope, and she's from 18th Street, and she's like 22 years old. So it's like, okay, what's up? How you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, you smoke dope? Oh, yeah, okay, let me get some. So she's just finding me some, and, I have all the excuses in the world. I wasn't happy where I was living. I was living with my son's grandma in Inglewood, and I'm in the living room, and there's 6 dogs there, 2 other females. I'm getting like 500 a week, and I'm paying 250 to live there. It was miserable, and it was lonely. It really was. I didn't really. I mean, I went to maybe 2 groups, 2 meetings out there in LA, but I'm from San Pedro, you know. So yeah, it got out of hand. I would start to see where I was at and see where my life was headed, and I did not want to go back to prison, no. And I did not want to lose the muscles that I gained. I did not want to lose the weight that I gained. I did not want to lose the friendships that I gained. I did not want to lose the self-respect and the dignity that I had. Because I was working as superior, stealing their own food, getting high, running around, miserable. And my sister Desiree, she pulled up to my job, and yeah. She pulled up to my job and she told me, you need to get your shit together. And let me tell you something, that really broke my heart. It was her, people at Fred Brown, God, of course, that brought me back, And I'm very fortunate and blessed to be here. All I'm doing now is, I'm from San Pedro, I keep saying that, but I know a lot of people out here. So I'm kind of like all in my head about, oh, Jared, you need to be sober and you need to prove to everybody that you're doing good and that you're doing good. I feel like in my head everybody's watching me, but they're really not. They're really not. Yeah. So my plans is to go to Arbor Occupational Center and get my GED. Not get in a relationship. Continue to call my sponsor and my sponsor brothers, and enjoy every day. You know, I remember all my experience with first getting to sober living, I need a job, everybody's working, what the fuck? No, I ain't worried about what nobody else is doing right now. You know, like, yeah, I have a little bit of jealousy and envy for the people that were here before me and that are still clean, but I have a lot of respect for them too. You know, I don't know what they did to get to where they're at. You know? So that's all I have to say. Thank you for letting me share.